If you're looking for adventure, grab the modules each month to support the channel and play the campaign with your gaming group. You're sure to get hooked on adventure.
We're going to talk about how to introduce new players to RPGs.
Yep, as we get more and more popular this genre of game playing, there are more new players than there are old players. So this is becoming a super important topic.
Oh yeah, totally. First off, a lot of people don't really necessarily understand what an RPG is because it's not a common thing, right? It's not a common thing that people talk about. So you may have to explain to a person, or if someone sees you with the books or something and asks about it, explain it to them, and you might end up with a new player. A lot of people, once they have that first experience, their mind is blown because they had no idea that something like this existed, right?
It's actually quite difficult to actually pinpoint what an RPG actually is. There's always an argument as to it's this, it's that, it must have a DM, it must do it, there's all these sort of things that it must have. But ultimately, it's, for me, it's basically sitting around and telling a story collectively with a mechanic. So whether that's cards or dice or gems or marbles or whatever, stones as the case may be, there's a mechanic involved that controls the way the story unfolds and the people are playing characters in the story. Now, that is not by any means the only definition of RPGs. That's my personal feeling on it. You have to kind of develop your own definition of what it is when you're encountering people for the first time. Now, some people will have an idea, they've seen it on TV or they've seen Critical Role or something like that, and they have an expectation.
Right.
So that leads to things like the Matt Mercer Effect,
right?
Which is a real thing, and we've done videos on this. But Scotty, like, what is that, and how is that changing the way people perceive RPGs?
Yeah, you're right about people. It's easier for them to experience an RPG by watching online, but the Matt Mercer Effect is that people see these character actors, really getting into these characters, doing great voices, amazing things, and they want their game to be exactly the same way and no game is ever the same. No game, I don't run my game the same way as Matt Mercer. You don't run your game the same way as Matt Mercer. Most DMs have their own style of running their game. That can poison people a little bit to what the experience is going to be.
I think it poisons their expectation.
Yeah, it poisons the expectation, right? Because you're still gonna. It's still good for the fact that it's introducing people to this. I mean, I think it's a great thing that they're introducing all these new people to the game. It's just that little part of it can be dangerous. So, if you have a new player, make sure you explain to them, how you run a game, how it works. That might help to alleviate some of that, or because you don't want a player sitting there and then like, oh, that my first experience is going to be just like Critical Role, and it's nothing like Critical Role, because some people are more mechanically minded, or maybe they don't do all the voices, and all that stuff doesn't come into the game. I find that a lot of game masters and DMs, if they don't necessarily have the great voices, they might have other cool things to make up for it, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses. What I tend to do is I try to make up for my weaknesses with my strengths, right? And I think most game masters will do that. So the players are still getting a good experience, a good introduction, and with the game, they're just not getting the game maybe they expected. So I think you need to make that clear, to the players.
Yeah, it's one of the strategies is you can try to do something that a game like Critical Role doesn't do. So you structure it differently. Yeah. Like they don't do strict turn order, right? So you do strict turn order. So that in itself is going to be different. That's going to give them a different experience. The way they use terrain is different from the way you can use. You can not use terrain at all, or go over the top with terrain. Mm-hmm. I find with new players, like a lot of the time, they have a little bit of knowledge of what it is. It's very rare that I will play a game with someone who has absolutely no idea what an RPG is.
Right.
and that's a little bit more difficult. I think I've done it once or twice. I played at a house game that ran for many months, where a friend of mine brought two people from work, and they had no idea. They thought it was a board game, and for them it was quite a shocking experience, and they really enjoyed it, and they wouldn't leave. They were having so much fun. It was like 2 a.m, and they wouldn't go home.
Right.
They just want to keep playing.
Right.
It's like, no, I got to go to bed. I got to go to work tomorrow. So that game kept going, because those players became literally addicted to the game.
Right.
And it became problematic for me because they just wanted to play more and more and more and more, and I couldn't give them the time. So there's that as well. You've got to sort of like if they've got no expectation and then they're just like become addicts of the game.
Right.
That's a whole new thing. But when that expectation of something, what you want to deliver is fun.
Yes.
And if you're not delivering fun, then they're going to have a poor experience. If they're expecting the voices and they don't get the voices, but they still get the fun, they're going to come back. Because most people are like, this is a fun experience. It's like, if you've never gone bowling before, you don't know bowling, then you go bowling, you love bowling, right? You have expectations of what it'd be, and then you find out it's fun, and you want to do it more and more. That's great. That's what you want. So your job as a DM when it comes to new players is not to teach them the rules. It's not to teach them sort of the etiquettes and all that kind of thing. It's to make sure that they have fun. And the people who are in the game with them, if they're veteran players or also sort of newish, they must have fun too. So it's not like you're just concentrating the fun on one person. You've got to spread the fun around.
Right.
And you've got to have a porous enough table that when you're bringing new people all the time, that the other players are accepting of new players, because they've obviously got to go through the sort of slower pace of learning how things work.
Right. Another thing can be rule systems for like new players, introducing new players. So, if you've got a super complicated system and you're introducing a new player, that can be really, a challenge for a new person trying to learn a system and, how the game works. So what I like what Gareth says, like, let kind of the experience lead, and then you just kind of give them the rules. Like, let them, they tell you what they do, and you tell them, okay, roll this or roll that. That's kind of the best way you can do it, I think, for a new player. Because if you're like, oh, what's it say on your character sheet and all this kind of stuff, or have other players help a new player, that really can help because you're busy with everything else. If you have a good player who's like assigned to that player or just will help that player with the rule part of the game, that could really get over that hurdle of them, not knowing the rules. Because you want the experience to be first and foremost. You don't want them to be fumbling with the rules. So what I like to do with new characters is actually introduce them maybe with an easier system, right? Yeah. That doesn't have so many rules. I think that's the best way to start a new player. And then as I like this. And then they understand the concept of rules. They understand how turns work. Once they get all that, introducing a little bit of a harder system isn't as much of a chore as throwing somebody in the deep end and like, oh, what are all these rules?
Yeah.
Kind of let them wade into the pool slowly. Don't chuck them into the deep end.
As a game designer, when I play with a lot of new players who've never played my game before. Obviously, there's a lot more people who've never played than there are. It's like the world. There's 2 golden rules that I follow. One is don't tell them the rules before they start playing, and don't show them the books, because the books are like this thick and the rules are like, it will just scare them because they feel like they need to know everything.
Yeah.
It's like when you sit down to Monopoly and you need to know all the rules before you start playing. RPGs, a new player shouldn't. You just sit down and as the game you explain certain concepts to them as you go. That's much better, so they're learning it little piece as they're doing it. But if you try to just info dump on them, they're never going to remember it. Never. So it's totally pointless.
Right.
So those are the 2 golden rules of new players. Don't show them the books. Don't explain the rules.
Yeah, because when they have an example and you show them, then they do something and then you show them how the rules, they're going to remember the rule. If you just info dump on them, they're never going to remember the rules.
And I've probably done this a couple of 100 times in introducing new players, and it's much easier doing it that way. Much easier. For you as the DM, and then also the other players as well, because you're only explaining the rules that they're doing, the other players don't have to sit through an info dump of the same thing over and over.
That they all know.
That they all know already.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I even tried to designing the system so that it's so easy to pick up that you only have to do 2 rounds and everyone knows what the rules are.
Right.
You know, this is like your Easy D6.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's like, you know, it's really just 1 page of actual rules, and the rest is just sort of caveats and additional optional things.
Right.
But he sent us like
Put it in our box.
500 letters.
What the hell? Who is this asshole?
Oh, God damn it. Who's this bratty little
$50. We're good. All right.
He can't even spell dire wizards. I suppose that's us.
All right.
My name is Garoth Barrett. What is Garoth?
What? Hell if I know. It sounds foreign.
Learn to spell, asshole.
Yeah.
Your name is shit.
Yeah. It doesn't sound Spanish, though.
I'm from South Africa.
What?
Is that actually a place?
Where's that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Is this your money, bro?
It doesn't look like money.
Probably one of your shitty countries with shitty money.
What's he ask?
Okay. Okay, he goes on and on. This kid
We're award
thinks
winners.
he's... Yeah,
Best kid show.
best kid show.
Of 1983.
That's right. It's 82, bro.
Oh, sorry. 82.
That's right.
I travel to the future sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, this kid seems to think he's some kind of expert. He's written a lot of shit. So I don't know, we're gonna have to
We'll
randomly...
just randomly pick one. What?
Randomly-
$50 gets you one answer.
Yeah, you only get one, bro.
Yeah.
Not like 28.
That's bullshit.
So I'm gonna get wizard over here. I'm gonna
Cheat the
close...
system.
I've closed my eyes.
Yeah.
Now you're just gonna choose one at random.
Okay. We're going to have one frog. Choose it.
Okay. Alright, this one.
Oh, wait. I got it. I
Okay,
got it.
all right.
Frog's got it.
I'll give you a selection
One
process.
frog
One frog.
chose
One
the
frog
letter.
for your selection process. Okay, well that's gone. Okay, this little wanker wants to know how to introduce new players to RPGs.
Oh, God.
Do we still, after 64 episodes,
Yeah.
have to deal with this shit?
Oh,
I mean, we are award-winning
yeah.
cable access.
Why can't we get any good questions from these little wankers?
These assholes from nowhere countries with shitty money
Yeah.
who ask 5,000 questions when they only pay for one.
Yeah. You take your D&D book, you walk up to a dumbass, and you say, hey, you want to play this game? That's how you introduce it.
No, you hit them over the head,
Oh,
bro.
right. Then you drag them back to your house.
To your cave.
Then you chain them up to the chair, or tie them to the chair.
Yeah.
And then they get them to play D&D.
to the log you sit on.
Yeah.
Because he's in that country, bro.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those all countries.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, remind me.
It's the only one worse.
Yeah.
Australia. It's a big island filled with sand.
This is found footage.
Yeah.
It's not us.
It's not us. It's found footage. People have been saying, "Oh, that's just you guys." It's like, no.
What? This is from 1983.
This is from 1982.
Not
This
us.
is found footage. We're now like the original company. We've had to license the rights from the guys who've licensed the rights through the documentary. We've been helping them out. So all your donations, well, your purchases on questgivers.com help to finance buying the rights. Guess how much the rights were?
How much?
What do you think?
$50. Oh. $50.